Well, I wasn't planning on visiting Cedar Point until later this month, but with a last-minute change in my schedule, both Kara and I were able to spend a few hours at the point during their pre-season preview of Top Thrill 2. First impressions up front, Cedar Point has another winner on their hands. The level of excitement in the crowds all waiting to ride Top Thrill was intoxicating. I'm very confident that Cedar Point made the right call with Top Thrill Dragster. Looking over the ride stats, Top Thrill has a maximum height of 420 feet, track length 3,422 feet, a max speed of 120 miles per hour featuring 3 multiple launches, 2 forward and 1 backward. Since I have another video completely dedicated to the ride policies, I'm not going to bring it up much. You can check out that video if you want my full analysis of that, but just know loose articles are not allowed on the ride, everything needs to go into a locker, and you must wear shoes that are secured with at least a back strap, so no flip-flops. The lockers were free during the event, and the staff stationed out front and around the attraction were doing their best to funnel guests through the lockers, through the metal detectors, and into the main queue. As always, please do me a favor by clicking on that like button. Those who are new to my channel and love roller coasters, make sure you subscribe. Presentation. As soon as you enter the section of the park, everything from the music, the energy, and the crowd all revolves around Top Thrill 2. The new ride sign and other various signs revolving around Top Thrill 2 look pretty decent. Overall though, like most of the roller coasters at Cedar Point, the theming isn't the focal point of the attraction. To me though, it's the entire presentation of the ride that really sells Top Thrill 2. As I mentioned already, the music playing really amps up those either waiting in line or sitting in the stands watching their family and friends accelerate up to 120 miles per hour through the course of 3 launches. Every time another train pulls out of the station, the music switches to another song, and I really love this variety of music. The musical and sound cues to this ride really pull together the atmosphere. Finally seeing the trains up close and personal, I really love the new color schemes and design. The dark gray supports, white and red colored track are a nice improvement from the original red and yellow color scheme. Overall, I have nothing to complain about. Could the park do a little more? Sure, but I think it's on par for Cedar Point. Presentation gets a score of 8. Ride intensity. After pulling out of the station and traveling over the transfer track, the train comes to a momentary pause on the launch. Once you hear that booming sound, the countdown begins, the red lights start to kick in succession, and then you're off traveling forward down the launch, reaching a speed of 74 miles per hour. This launch was surprisingly more forceful than I expected, but nowhere near the power of the original. The coaster rolls up that top hat, stalling out about halfway, probably a little bit lower, but enough to be a little more scary than I was anticipating. Being stalled out for a couple seconds allows you to soak in just how high that top hat really is, because you're looking straight up at the top hat and you know you're still a good 200 feet off the ground, or something around there. It really gave me a sense of vertigo. The coaster then rolls back, hitting the launch and now accelerating up to a speed of 101 miles per hour. The backwards launch also has a nice kick to it and really starts to amp up that out of control feeling. After accelerating down the launch, Top Thrill drives up into a massive 420 vertical spike. As you approach the top, the train stalls out again, giving you a sense of weightlessness for a few seconds as you fall back to Earth. Once you reach the launch track again, the coaster now accelerates to its max speed of 120 miles per hour. This is the craziest part of the ride. Sure, in the original coaster we would reach that max speed, but you only experience those high speeds for a couple seconds. Well, Top Thrill 2 travels the entire length of that launch at those speeds, allowing you to feel the wind crashing into your face. I was lucky enough to score a front row ride, and I must say that it was truly a breathtaking experience. It was this final launch when I immediately knew that Top Thrill 2 was better than the original. After reaching the end of the launch, riders now climb the full height of that vertical top hat, cresting over the top at decent speeds, allowing you to get a nice pop of air before diving back down. Most of the time, this coaster flies over the top hat, so you really don't have much time to soak in how high you are off the ground. Well, the coaster travels back down through a 270-degree spiral, leveling out into the brake run, sending you back into the station. The original had that incredible first launch, which, to be fair, Top Thrill 2 is unable to compete with, but with that loss, this attraction makes it up with 3 launches, each one more crazier than the last. Top Thrill 2 is still a very intense ride, just like the original, earning the highest rating I can give, a 10 score. Fun factor. It's been a while since a new roller coaster put butterflies in my stomach. Well, that's exactly what happened to me on Top Thrill 2. I was super excited to ride this roller coaster. I was basically frolicking up the queue and into the station. Kara can testify. Sadly, I have no video because phones aren't allowed in the queue, but anyways, I can happily state that Top Thrill 2 is an amazing roller coaster. When the original was closed down, I was pretty sad, and even more so when I learned that the hydraulic launch was being removed and replaced by an allegedly inferior launch. Well, now that I've been on this redesigned attraction, I can safely acknowledge that yes, the old launch was so much more powerful, but this multi-launch is still amazing in its own merit. The true excitement is traveling 120 miles per hour down the track, which sadly some think is not quite good enough. I have no idea what they're smoking because going 120 miles per hour is a big difference over traveling 90 miles per hour on a Giga coaster. This coaster is insane and it lets you know early on. Before I provide you my fun factor score, let me bring up the operations. I have to give my full praise to the ride staff and how seamlessly they were working to send the trains. I timed multiple dispatches and the best one I got was 84 seconds with the average dispatch of about 90 seconds. But that 84 seconds is about as good as it gets for Top Thrill 2. As soon as the train starts to crest that top hat, the next train rolls out of the station. If the staff times it perfectly, the train won't even slow down prior to the switch track. At a rate of 90 seconds per dispatch, Top Thrill 2 is capable of sending 40 trains an hour. Each train can hold 20 passengers, meaning that Top Thrill 2 can send 800 riders in 1 hour. The best part is during my 4 hours in the park, the train never had an interval that went longer than 10 minutes, so it never really went down, but waiting 10 minutes is actually not too bad because I think every coaster kind of has those long periods of time. This only happened about twice. This roller coaster is already demonstrating its reliability, and with that, it adds just another reason to why Top Thrill 2 is superior to the original. I give the fun factor category a perfect 10 score. Originality. Okay, we all know that the concept of Top Thrill 2 isn't anything new. The ride is still using about 80 to 90% of the original layout. Outside of the launch, the only new thing is that backwards vertical spike. We have seen many multi-launch or swing launch roller coasters in the past few years, but never to this extreme. Top Thrill 2 has taken the swing launch concept and cranked it up to 11. Also, I hear that some complaints that the backward spike is just a simple vertical spike. Well, I have no problem with that because it provides some decent floater. And to be honest, I never really saw what was the hype with those twisted spirals, those vertical spikes that twist. You see them on again, it was on the original Wicked Twister or Possessed. They're fine, but I actually prefer the straight track myself. The biggest change is the added ride time. The original coaster, from the moment that you started to accelerate, you were just about already finished and on the brake run in about 20 seconds. Top Thrill 2 is over double that in ride time. No longer can you argue that the wait isn't worth a 20-second ride experience because Top Thrill 2 has a ride time that is more in line with most roller coasters. Originality gets an 8. Ride smoothness. The biggest question that everyone is asking is Top Thrill 2 rough? After the POV of the ride was released, it looked like there was some sort of rattle when the train passed through the launch multiple times. Well, I can confirm that there is indeed a rattle, but calling this a rough roller coaster is like complaining that Steel Vengeance doesn't have enough airtime. For me, I honestly didn't notice the rattle other than the train making me sway slightly side to side, but with these new trains, their lap bar and seats make this a super comfortable ride. I can't stress enough that this roughness, rattle, or whatnot is by no means a problem for this coaster. Now, I did only ride in the very front row, and it's possible that the back of the train might be a little bit more vicious, but I couldn't imagine it being a deal breaker. These new trains are uber comfortable, ride smoothness earns a near perfect score of 9.5. The technical score for Top Thrill 2 comes to 9.1, which is a pretty great score. The bottom line though, as I stated at the beginning of this video, I have no complaints with this coaster. I think everything about this ride is exactly how it should be. This is a fantastic roller coaster, one that I look forward to getting multiple rides on later this year. My personal score, this is easily a 10. I didn't think it would be possible to say, but Top Thrill 2 is better than the original. Like Dark Knight to Batman Begins, Empire Strikes Back to A New Hope, Cedar Point took what was great about the past version and elevated it to another level. Just like a movie sequel, it's bigger and better. Actually, it is kind of hard to compare this to the original because I like it for different reasons. Not to keep pounding on the original because it was seriously a great roller coaster. But I really want to emphasize that this change was ultimately the best move for Cedar Point. The ride now has another roller coaster that helps round out their top 5. I guess the next question you might be wondering, where does this roller coaster rank? Well, I can say it definitely is one of the best roller coasters in the park, but if you want my full ranking, stay tuned for an upcoming video where I rank all the roller coasters at Cedar Point, coming out soon. Bottom line though, if you haven't ventured over to Cedar Point in quite some time, or been holding out for the right moment to finally visit the park, make those plans now. Top Thrill 2 is the reason. Well, until next time, this is X Scream Thrills.